free at last. I'm free at last. The Mike Duffy trial, the defense closed today. Mike Duffy is off the witness stand after 8 days. It's not resuming until sometime in the new year when the lawyers will make closing arguments. So what do we know? Well, thanks to the cross-examination by Prosecutor Mark Holmes, it's pretty well established that while Mike Duffy was using the magical thinking of the Senate to claim that he lived in Prince Edward Island and that's where his primary residence was, he was telling everyone else in government, the passport office, the tax people, etc., that guess what? He lived in Canada, which is what we all knew anyway. And that's just sort of been made more nakedly plain. We know that he, in one particular instance, I don't see how he can get out of being a conviction on this particular offense. He was in Ottawa. He was standing in as a sort of emergency guest speaker. He was paid $10,000 to speak at this event. He quickly commissioned someone else to write the speech because Mike Duffy doesn't write anything, it turns out, which is why when he says, "I'm a journalist," it's so great. In any case, he hired this other guy, paid him a couple of grand, used the speech as the speech. He chopped it up a bit, but used it. I think added 7 words, which consisted of, you know, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, that's it. And then he billed that private speech and paid the man he'd contracted to write the speech through his general contractor who handled his Senate office budget. It's indisputable, it's inarguable. It seems to me that that's a done deal. And then I suppose the prosecutor didn't ask him any questions about the $90,000 from Nigel Wright. I suspect because that's mostly, that's the source of 3 of the charges against Mr. Duffy. It's pretty much a paper trail. We know what Mike Duffy had to say about it. We know what Nigel Wright, who paid the money, had to say about it. And there's emails up the yin-yang, so the judge will have to make his decision on that. So what we really know, what we really saw today, though, was a moment where Mike Duffy was captured in one single exchange. The prosecutor was asking him some questions about a $7,000 or $8,000 trip, for which you paid, by the way. We paid. Mike Duffy says he was supposed to go out to appear with a Conservative MP who was in a bit of trouble in his riding. He was about to learn that Elizabeth May was running in the riding, and ultimately she defeated this man, Gary Lunn. And he begged, according to Duffy, he begged him to come out there and boost his profile, and it was on a Labor Day weekend, and Duffy agreed reluctantly, and out he went. There's some mystery about why he was not invited in the end to come to this event. It was at the Saanich Fair in Vancouver Island. Mr. Lunn, who testified, said it was because the local riding association didn't want to pay the airfare for Mr. Duffy to come from Vancouver to Victoria. And there was some talk of maybe they didn't need him because the Olympic torch was going to be there. Duffy's version is that he got a mystery call the night before saying, "Do not go to the Saanich Fair." And in any case, he didn't go to the Saanich Fair. The reasons are mysterious. He spent the weekend instead visiting his daughter, seeing her in a play, doing family things. It was an entirely personal trip, as it turned out. In the course of asking about this, the prosecutor said to him at one point, "Have you ever been to the Saanich Fair?" And Duffy said no, because of course he didn't go that day. And the prosecutor was trying to establish that it was a huge event, physically a huge location, and that there would have been room for the Olympic torch and everything else. And one of the things he put to Mr. Duffy was, you know, they have a giant pumpkin contest. And do you know what Mike Duffy said? He said, "Are you body shaming me?" And the prosecutor said, "Are you kidding me?" And we all went, "What?" He hadn't been trying to body shame him. And anyway, Mike Duffy's lost a lot of weight. He looks good. The point, though, is that Mike Duffy always feels entitled to his share, whether it's his share of Senate entitlements or his share of the public purse or his share of victimhood. He's in there right away. He's going to claim it. That's all you need to know.